Welcome to Wisdom Inspired, a podcast designed to help high achievers to eliminate burnout and overwhelm. Now let's prepare to open our hearts, our minds, and our notebooks to receive today's wisdom. So today we'll conclude our talk on multitasking, and the question is, if multitasking is so bad, why do we do it? And as I've done in the previous episode, I'd like to start with my disclaimer. I am not a psychiatrist, a psychologist. I'm not in the medical profession, and this is not a diagnosis. Okay? All right. Now, so again, this was inspired by a question that was posed in one of our networking meetings. And so the question was, why do we multitask? Right? Why do we do it? I mean, never mind the fact that it slows you down, it decreases your productivity because you're switching back and forth between tasks, and it makes those tasks take longer. It takes longer to complete them. And disregard the fact that multitaskers risk forgetting and omitting important information, and over time, studies have shown that over time, frequent multitasking actually changes the way our brain functions over time, right? So today I really just want to provide a little bit more insight related to multitasking. And so I'm going to give you my top threes, okay? I'm going to give you my top 3 reasons why we should not multitask, top 3 reasons why we do it anyway, and the top 3 things we can do to resist the urge. Okay? All right. Let's get started. So, top 3 reasons we should not multitask. Okay? Number 1, it decreases attentional engagement. Studies show with regard to multimedia multitasking, like listening to music, playing a video while you work, right? This has been associated with changes in our attentional engagement. It impacts our ability to sustain attention in our everyday life. And I think we've all experienced it in one way or another. I know I have, right? Because the thing is, with all of the technological advances, it's so easy to engage with multiple forms of media simultaneously. But be aware that it's impacting our attention span, right? We have like 30 seconds. If it has not caught my attention, maybe I'm just speaking for myself. If it hasn't caught my attention, right, I have moved on to something else, okay? So it decreases attentional engagement. Number 2, it disrupts our productive flow. Our most creative and productive work takes place in a flow. Many of you on the call are writers or content creators, your coaches, your consultants, and we create content, right? So when you're in your flow of writing and creating content, think about it. Like when you get a phone call or a text message while you're doing this, it causes you to lose your focus. You can't focus on what you're doing, right? Because you have suddenly switched to something else, and you want to see now, well, what was that notification all about, right? And that's what multitasking does to your brain, especially for those of us who are not in that 2.5% of people who can actually multitask effectively, right? We talked about that on a previous episode. So number 2 is disrupts productive flow. That's what multitasking does. And number 3, it depreciates conversational value. Multitasking is actually rude, okay? Think about it. When you're in a conversation with someone and they start texting or answering emails during the conversation or meeting while you're talking, kind of rude, okay? So unless it's something that's discussed beforehand, it's more polite to focus and engage, even if your meeting or the conversation is boring. I know that's not anybody on this call, right? So we're just going to move on. But just know that it depreciates conversational value. It devalues the conversation and the person that you're having a conversation with when you multitask during a conversation. All right? So those are my 3 top reasons for not multitasking. So 3 top reasons why we multitask anyway. All right? Number 1, it's encouraged. It's encouraged in the workplace, right? Because employers think that we need to be people who can multitask. Have you ever looked at job applications? And that's one of the qualifications, right? They require that applicants be able to multitask. And even while I was researching, I pulled up an article on Indeed, and it stated how multitasking saves time and money, makes you more productive, and makes you feel more accomplished. Now, that's despite the evidence that shows just the opposite, right? But my point is that multitasking is an ingrained aspect of our culture and our workplace. So that's number 1. Number 2, it's convenient. I just said that the technological advances have made it so easy for us to engage in multiple forms of media simultaneously. We have smartphones, smart TVs in our cars, like all of this information and all of this media, all of this is at our fingertips, right? So it's convenient. So not only is it encouraged, it's so convenient. And then it's a trap. I've said this multiple times. It's a trap. We've fallen for it. We have become impatient, easily bored, right? We need that constant stimuli, right? That constant stimulant to the brain, right? And we're convinced that multitasking helps us get more done, right? So those are my top 3 reasons why we do it anyway. So here are my top 3 reasons why or how we can counteract these, urges to multitask, okay? Number 1, exercise discipline. Exercise discipline. Exercise the discipline of focus. You can actually train yourself to focus on one task at a time. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, right? But understand that not every task has equal weight. And so I found this quote that says, an unfocused mind is like a toddler. Sometimes you have to tell it no, even though it would seemingly be easier just to let it have what it wants, right? And so, but exercise the discipline of focus. Exercise the discipline of prioritizing. Decide which is going to come first and concentrate on that task until it's completed. The scripture tells us in Philippians 1:10 to make sure of the more important things, right? So exercise the discipline of prioritizing. And then exercise the discipline of tranquility. Ecclesiastes 4:6 talks about that, right? It's better is a handful with quietness than both hands full with travail or vexation of spirit, right? So exercise those 3 disciplines. Then number 2, eliminate distractions. When you find yourself being tempted to check your phone while you're studying or you're creating or you're writing, right? Just do something to minimize that distraction, right? You know, if it's your phone, put it in another room. Turn off your TV. Even sometimes change the location to another spot to minimize those distractions. I believe you'll be amazed at the effectiveness of how just simply changing a location can help you stay focused, right? So eliminate distractions is number 2. And then number 3, engage attentively. Give conversation your undivided attention and always be fully present. Tending to your phone while talking to someone is not only counterproductive, but it's also rude, right? That's why when I'm on the phone, I try to do my best to pay attention to one or the other. Like I'll say, well, listen, let me take this phone call, right? Or if I'm in person with someone, I won't take the phone call, right? So give attention in the conversation. The scripture teaches us to treat others the way you would want to be treated, right? And so this is a practice that you can engage attentively in conversation. I want to close out with this quick quote that I found in another article on multitasking. Believe me, this has really been fun. It says that I have found that it's so much better for me to focus on one thing at a time. That way, I am even happier when I can scratch off that task off my to-do list and move on to the next one. That's what I call job satisfaction.
I hope you enjoyed the episode of Wisdom Inspired that was brought to you by the AAC Co-working Community, a virtual community designed to support female entrepreneurs, business owners, and freelance professionals. For more, go to wisdominspired.net.